Literally within seconds, they threw it.
This was the worst emergency I've ever seen.
The pain was so excruciating, kept getting worse and worse and worse.
She was screaming, she was sort of thrashing and clawing at herself, and she was just saying, get it off, get it off.
It's so unbearable. I just thought my body was going to give in at that point. I was teaching kids in Zanzibar with my friend just before we both started university in September. We had a really fun time. We bonded with all the kids and really enjoyed it while we were there. It was our last day at the school, so we wanted to reminisce on the month we'd had, so decided to go out for dinner. As we left the volunteer house, we were coming through the windy streets, and I would say within 30 seconds, two guys on a moped drove on the road on the right-hand side. I remember Kirsty and I were like, why are they stopping? He smiled at us for maybe half a second, but it was kind of just like a little smirk grin. It wasn't like a proper smile. And then within seconds, they threw the acid.
We heard a scream, but then the sound of a wave crashing straight after. So it was like, oh, it's just like girls playing in the ocean.
The pain was so excruciating, kept getting worse and worse and worse. The first thing I did was remove all my clothing because half of them have disintegrated anyway because of the acid. And I knew that whenever I was touching my jumper on the other side, my hands were getting burned.
Gently remove clothes and jewellery. They could be holding onto the acid and further burning the skin. Pulling clothing off over the head could spread the acid onto your face and eyes, so if you can, cut clothes off instead. Don't try to remove clothing that is stuck to the skin, and don't become a victim yourself.
We heard a young girl shouting, somebody help me. We sort of went from, is something wrong, to, oh my God, something's very wrong. We rushed over in the direction of the screaming. When we discovered her clothes are all sort of torn off, and my first thought was, oh my God, this girl's been raped. When we saw that she was clawing at her skin and she was screaming, it burns, get it off me, I realised it was some sort of corrosive.
Your mind just goes into complete overdrive and you just realise that what's on your skin's not meant to be there, you need to wash it off straight away. I remember they had bottled water with them.
We were pouring it over her and it was gone instantly. I was screaming at these local guys, run, get water, go to that shop, bring all of the water now.
Immediately rinse the skin with clean, cool water. The water dilutes the acid, so get onlookers to refresh your supply of clean water as quickly as possible. Don't soak the burns or use a hard spray of water. You could cause further damage. If it's in their eyes, then thoroughly rinse their eyelids. If you can't get water, you could use other harmless liquids like milk or Coke.
I could barely speak, I was in so much pain. I could taste it and my tongue was very swollen, so I was being sick.
Nobody could just call an ambulance because they don't have them on the island. Fortunately, I had the number of a doctor that works on the island. He said, get them to go to the closest hotel, get them in a shower.
It was absolutely freezing. My body was just reacting in such an odd way. It was shaky and being sick and dizzy, and I just thought my body was going to give in at that point.
I've never seen somebody in so much pain. It was so hard watching them have to go through it and just being so helpless.
Don't put on any cream or lotion. They could prevent hospital treatments like antibiotics from working effectively. If you can get it, loosely wrap the burns in sterile gauze or cling film. This will help to prevent the wound from contamination.
There was a mirror in the bathroom there. I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe I'm looking in the mirror and that's me.
The whole thing was surreal. The girls still didn't seem like they'd fully understood how life-changing this would be.
I was just doing everything I could to suppress all those kind of scared feelings because I just knew that we had to just get back to London. I had an emergency 12-hour surgery to get rid of as much of the dead skin as possible. When I was strong enough, then they could take skin from elsewhere and put it on the burnt skin. People would stare at me all the time. I would completely cover up and I really became very introverted and barely went out.
9:04 and we're still here.
When I've been sad, I've got through the sadness with my family, with my friends. They've all been unbelievable. I think I've come to terms with it. I'm obviously not happy about the situation. It makes me sad, but I don't want the energy to hate them.
It still makes me cold. It was a completely random attack on the girls. It wasn't anything that they'd done. You can get attacked for any reason. by anyone anywhere in the world.
Without Sam and Nadine, I don't know what I would have done. They completely saved me from that situation.
It's so inspiring to see that Katie's gone from such a life-changing incident and, you know, not only survived it at the time, but also is, you know, such a strong personality now.
I started a campaign called Setting the Standard. It's about getting the message out there that firstly the media needs to be more diverse in terms of disfigurements and disabilities. There's always going to be moments where people still look at me and I'll still think to myself, oh my God, it's makes me feel uncomfortable, it makes me cringe a bit inside. But now I would never let that not make me go out. And if someone stares at me, I'm going to stare back at them, because if they're going to make me feel uncomfortable, then I'm going to do the same back.